Hello, welcome to a video. Welcome to a really exciting video, one that I have wanted to make for a really long time, but I've been really intimidated, and that is a 24-hour readathon. If you are new here, my name is Megan. I am currently in school. I'm currently in school to study to be a librarian tech, and not only that, I'm on a 3-week break from school, which is the only reason why I have all the time in the world to do this challenge. I've decided I'm gonna do it a little differently though, because I am a big routine person. I am a big sleep person, and I couldn't imagine reading for 24 hours straight. I think I would go insane. Instead of doing a straight 24 hours, I am timing myself over 4 days to try to pack in as much reading as humanly possible during that time frame. Since it is Halloween season, I wanted to get through a big chunk of my spooky TBR, all the books on my shelf that are spooky and scary and perfect for this season. The weather also totally delivered in this video, and I'm super jazzed about that. Without further ado, let's get into the reading. Let's go back in time to a very sleepy Megan at the start of this challenge. This book is like a fever dream. Okay, I read for 3 hours and 28 minutes and I finished Rouge. This is definitely a book that got significantly better towards the end. The first 2/3 of it, I was really confused. Overall, I really liked it. We've got an exploration of our unhealthy obsession with beauty and youth. We've got soul-sucking addiction to being young. And essentially, it's just a trippy spin on the beauty industry and our relation to it. There's a lot of themes that deal with wealth, the habits and the traits that parents pass on to children and what we inherit from our parents. And this was all exemplified through a mother-daughter relationship woven throughout this story, a central, integral part of this story. My biggest issue with this book is that it started at 11 and I felt like it carried that intensity throughout the entire story. It just got exhausting after a while and I was not sure that it was going to be able to sustain itself, but then the ending, it landed. It landed really hard for me. I really enjoyed it. I liked the way the story wrapped up. It got me quite emotional towards the end. I wasn't anticipating that, although I kind of was hoping that would happen because of the themes of this story. The writing is brilliant. It's metaphorical. It's definitely abstract, which we all know if you've watched previous videos. I kind of struggle with that ever so slightly. However, this story carried me through to an ending that I not only understood, but really felt emotionally. Overall, I'm really happy that I read it, and I would certainly pick up more from Mona Awad, and I probably will. She's definitely a chaotic storyteller. My expectations were definitely met, which I'm very happy about. So moving on, because I still have a couple hours of reading left to do in this day. Rouge was a thinking book. I definitely had to put on my thinking cap a little bit, and I really don't want to do that anymore. I don't want to think, I just want to be entertained. So I think I'm going to pick up a Riley Sager book. I actually have two. One is Home Before Dark and the other one is The House Across the Lake. I think I'm gonna feel the same way about both of them. So I think I am going to pick up Home Before Dark, only because it involves a spooky house and it literally says on the cover, shocks of real horror. So let's see if that actually is the case.
I feel like I just blinked and I'm on page 88. It's not taking a whole lot out of me to read it, which I really, really appreciate, so I'm into it. It is really hard not to draw parallels to The Haunting of Hill House, though, while reading it. Like, I feel like I already know how this book is going to end. I'm going to try to keep an open mind, though. I mean, I'm just here for the ride. I'm not going to overanalyze it.
Almost 4:45 in the morning. Cannot sleep anymore. I have been up since like 3 tossing and turning. So it happens a lot, especially for me. I struggle with sleep. And so I'm weirdly energized right now too. Normally I wake up and I'm dead to the world and I usually watch YouTube, but I think I'm going to actually read because I think I have enough energy right now to read. And I guess that's great. I mean, I kind of wish I was sleeping. I'm also going to use my tablet to time instead of my laptop going forward because it's just easier. So I'm going to set a timer for just under 19 hours because I read for 5 hours and 3 minutes yesterday. So I don't really have any other insights or anything else to say. So let's just get to reading.
Oh my god, I'm setting this up because stuff is going down. I have less than 50 pages to go and a twist has already happened that I haven't predicted. I don't know what's gonna happen, so I'm gonna keep going. This is crazy. I guessed it. I totally guessed it. I knew it. Woo! This is fun. This is a lot of fun. I have like 12 pages left. So much has happened. That was fun. Did all of the twists make sense? No. But it was fun. It was a very fun read. It was twisty and turny, especially towards the end. 16 hours and 17 minutes left, and I really, really have to get ready. I'm going to write with my friend today at the library, and I'm supposed to be there in a little bit, so I'm gonna get ready now. I can't believe I finished that so quickly. It was a ride. While I understand the critique that it is very similar to The Haunting of Hill House, I actually find it to differ quite significantly, and The Haunting of Hill House, the Netflix show, I mean, as well as the Shirley Jackson story, are two of my favorite horror stories of all time. This really differs, I think, from it. I really went in expecting it to be basically a carbon copy of that story, but I actually thought it was quite original in its deviations. So I have no idea what I'm going to read next. We have a ton of options, but I am going to take a few hours and write. I'll decide when I get home. I think that's a good idea because there's just a lot of different options and I don't know what I'm in the mood for next. So I think a few hours of not reading, of writing, of escaping away into my imagination will rejuvenate me in order to pick a better book. Hi, party people. I went to the library to write with my friend and ended up writing 1,930 words. It felt great. It was such a great time. It was short. I didn't stay too long because I am exhausted. And then I took my butt to the gym and I got so buff, so swole, and then I just laid and stared at the sky for a little bit, which is one of my favorite ways to end my workouts, is just stretching and watching the clouds go by. And now I'm home, and now here we are, and I am here to pick out another book. I am going to tidy this place ever so slightly, do some dishes, clean up the litter box, take a shower, and then I'm gonna sit right back down here and continue reading. I thought about it quite a bit today, and I have decided the next book that I'm going to read is going to be A Dowry of Blood by S.T. Gibson. If you watched my last writing vlog, so my last vlog, you will know that I said in that vlog, I'm not a vampire girly. I want to be a vampire girly. I want to love vampire books so badly because I just feel like they are books that are perfect for me. They're incredibly atmospheric. They're rich. They follow really big themes, often themes that I like religion and morality and immortality and desire and what it means to be a human. All of these things I love. However, I don't love vampire books. I am hesitant. I think it's going to be brilliantly written. I'm hoping that this is the one vampire book that breaks the mold for me because it just sounds like it could be. This follows the first bride of Dracula, and that's basically all I know. I know that it is going to be slightly gothic. I know that it's going to be darkly romantic, and I know that it's going to have really, really big themes. But other than that, I don't know anything about it, so I'm really hoping that I like it. I'm going in with an incredibly open mind, as I do with all of my vampire books. I genuinely want to like them, so I always go in being like, maybe this is gonna be the one. So let's get into it. Let's see if I like it. I have good feelings. I only have 30 pages left and it is so good. I have to stop briefly to make dinner, but I'm definitely finishing this tonight. It's so good. I'm halfway, and I'm halfway. This book's interesting. I'm not easily scared, so it's not really scaring me at all, but it's a good time. I mean, it's a very classic haunted house story. There are a group of 4 individuals going to investigate this infamous haunted house by the nickname of Hell House. One of them is a scientist, the other one is a medium. It's very much an approachable story that I've read and seen 1,000 times before, but there are some pretty good haunts. There's some psychological elements that are interesting. It's written fine enough that I'm able to slip into it. It was published in the 1970s, so it is a little bit outdated in some of the language choices, but overall, it's an easy read, so I'm having a decent time with it. I'm gonna keep going though. I can't believe I'm halfway. And my eyes don't want to fall out of my head yet. It's certainly easier to read than I was expecting, but I'm very grateful that I have all the time in the world to do this. Why is it just the women losing their mind right now? I really don't have that much more to go. I have 75 pages left, but I really need to get some writing done, so I'm gonna do that. Look at my witch's mug. That's it, really. I just wanted to ask why only the women were losing their minds in that book, update you on how much I had left to go, tell you I'm still writing, and I'm enjoying this challenge. I'm enjoying seeing that I'm capable. I'm also grateful because I'm in such a big reading mood that it doesn't really feel like a whole lot of work. But for my eyes, I probably could just read even more, but I'm trying not to strain my eyes too much and take care of them. So far, so good. Let's keep going. I'm going to blow that out pretty much as soon as I'm done talking. We're back, baby. Just a little bit of an update. I finished this book. It was fine. It was fine. It was a very classic haunting house story. There were deeply problematic elements, in my opinion, with a horror story set in the 1970s, I suppose. Overall, there were some spooky moments that I appreciated. There was some imagery that was quite startling, and the plot moved along at a very comfortable pace. So overall, meh. Didn't mind it, didn't love it, didn't hate it, happy to have read it. I felt my eyes glazing over ever so slightly as I continued to read, so I did decide to leave, and I went grocery shopping and picked up some stuff for dinner. I'm making spicy tofu, and I'm very excited about that. I got some garlic chili oil, and before I left the coffee shop, I picked up Immortality by Dana Schwartz. This is a sequel to Anatomy, a love story. We essentially pick up after the events of the first novel, and we are following the main character as she is treating people in the 1800s, in the early 1800s. I really loved Anatomy. I read it last year. I actually listened to it after borrowing it from the library, and I loved it so much that I had to buy a copy because it was just such a lovely little cozy gothic tale. Had elements of Frankenstein that I really appreciated. Not too long to go, so I'm gonna blow out this candle now because it's terrifying me, but I just wanted the ambiance. So please appreciate the ambiance for a second. Okay, perfect. Let's get to reading.
I feel like I got through this one so quickly. I just finished it and I didn't really love it as much as I wanted to, and that's really disappointing. Really wanted it to be a completely different story than what it was, and I'll talk about it more at the end of this video when I give you my thoughts on all of the books that I've read, because I've realized that I didn't actually update on A Dowry of Blood at all, which I loved. It just was not the story that I wanted it to be. I feel like it focused on the wrong themes. I really wanted it to be a book that dove into the theme of immortality and love and what it means to love forever, whether that's a choice you want to make. But it did not. Instead, it kind of just like meandered. It took about 200 pages for really any kind of major plot to happen. And that's not to say I didn't enjoy my time in these pages, because I really still liked Hazel and I still love her as a character, and I would still recommend the first book so much, but a little disappointing. To switch up gears ever so slightly and to go back to a little bit more spooky, I'm going to read Slate House by David Mitchell. I've never read anything by David Mitchell. I started Utopia Avenue and I just didn't finish it because it was very long-winded. And while I liked his writing and I liked his characters, I didn't love the plot enough to stick with it. This one, however, is quite short. So while I think it's going to be very similar in terms of the writing, I feel like I'll be able to stick with it because I know it won't be there for very long. Does that make sense? We have 7 hours and 45 minutes left, so I feel like my brain is starting to melt a little bit. You know the way like athletes use Gatorade to stay hydrated? Well, I've got my reader's Gatorade. That's right. I'm starting to put eye drops in my eyes because my eyes are really dry. I'm surprised I haven't had more of a headache, but I'll be drugging myself with Advil if I need to. Because this athlete, she needs to get her pages in and she needs to get her hours in. And I'll take any kind of performance enhancers that I need to in order to make that happen. This has been great. This has been my lifesaver. I was like really struggling 2 hours ago and then I just put a couple drops in my eyes. Whole new person. I just finished Slade House and it was fine if you let go of your need to understand everything and just accept the ride. Then it's okay. It also just felt like the same story over and over again. I'm very grateful it was only just over 200 pages because I feel like if it was any longer, I would have really not liked it. But I was able to accept it and enjoy it a little bit more because I knew it was going to be over quickly. I liked the middle part a lot. I feel like after I accepted the fact that this was going to be a little bit more abstract, I followed 2 other characters. It got really interesting, but then the end, it kind of just fizzled out a little bit. I have 2 more books on my TBR that I wanted to read. One is a middle grade and one is a full-fledged normal book. I don't know. I'm gonna do the normal book and then I'll leave the middle grade book to the very end and we'll see if I get to it. If not, that's okay. 6 hours left of reading. I don't know how many books I can read in that. The next book I picked up is The Dead Take the A Train by Cassandra Kah and Richard Kadri. I absolutely love the cover of this book. Julie Cruz is a coked up, burnt out 30-something who packs a lot of magic into her small body. She has been trying to establish herself in the New York City magic scene and she'll work the most gruesome gigs to claw her way to the top. She is desperate for a quick career boost to break the dead-end grind, but her pleas draw the attention of an eldritch god who is hungry for revenge. Her power grab sends off a deadly chain of events that pushes her closest friends and the entire world directly in the path of annihilation. This is the first explosive adventure in a duology, and it fuses Kah's cosmic horror and Kadri's gritty fantasy into a full-throttle thrill ride straight into New York's magical underbelly.
I am just over halfway through this book and it is so much fun. The world took a little bit to get used to. I realized that I'm not the biggest urban fantasy reader, and this reads very much like an urban fantasy. I was immediately invested in the characters. The plot is like the perfect pace of really intense and intriguing, but also it's slowing down just enough so that I can really get to know the characters. There's also a really, really sweet romance budding, and I just want them to kiss already. They're so sweet. So I'm really enjoying it. I'm genuinely enjoying it. It feels like exactly the type of book that I should be reading right now at the very end of this challenge. I have just under 4 hours to go, and I'm really hoping I can finish this around the 2 hour to an hour and a half mark so I can squeeze in my last book, but we shall see. For now, I think I'm going to take a quick little 5-minute break and stretch it out because honestly, the hardest part about this challenge has been sitting for so long. My bones are tired, my muscles are tired, my body is very, very tired.
Kissing has happened. We have kissing. This is not a drill. There has been kissing.
All right, friends, we are in the bedroom. I just finished The Dead Take the A Train. So fun, such a good ride. It was exactly the story I expected it to be. It was exactly the story I wanted it to be. The ride was deeply satisfying. Deeply satisfying. I really enjoyed it. So I have 2 hours left, and I think I'm going to pick up the last book on the TBR that I made for myself called A Wolf for a Spell by Kara Sutton. I'm really, really excited to read this one. It has been on my TBR for years now, probably close to 3 years. I've really wanted to read this. This is a middle grade that is a retelling of the Baba Yaga. It's certainly not scary. It's not spooky, I don't think at all, but it has that fantastical fairy tale feel, and I feel like it is the perfect book to end this challenge on. All right. There we have it. That is the challenge. I finished it. I can't believe that I finished it. I cannot believe that I finished it, to be honest. I was really feeling it towards the end. The eyes were tired. I'd like to thank my eye drops for getting me through this challenge. Truly, they really did. They worked wonders. So let's talk about the books. What books did I read? As you can see, there is the beautiful stack right here. 8 whole books in 24 hours over 4 days. I cannot believe it. I didn't think it was possible. I actually planned to read all of these books, and I didn't think I was going to get through it. I thought it was way too many books, but I think I was just in a really, really big reading mood. And once you get into the flow of reading, you read a lot quicker than you think you will. So let's talk about books, starting with the 2 books that I haven't actually talked about quite yet. First up, we have probably my favorite book that I read in this challenge, and that is A Dowry of Blood by S.T. Gibson. I can't believe it. I can't believe it. A vampire book.
came out on top. I loved this book. This book was certainly more than a vampire book, and I don't mean that in a degrading way. I want to love vampire books so badly, but this had so much more to it. It was so meaty and juicy and theme heavy, and the writing was rich and gorgeous. And once I started, I found that I could not stop. As I mentioned, it had great themes explored in extremely subtle ways, rich characters, engrossing pace. I was pretty tired when I picked it up and was kind of feeling a little deflated, but it just picked me up and carried me through. Absolutely fantastic, top-notch, wonderful. It deserves all of the hype that it gets, and more, because it's phenomenal. Next up, the very last book that I read, A Wolf for a Spell by Kara Sutton. This is a frolicking fairy tale set in the Russian wilderness in a Russian village. It's inspired by Russian folklore. It features Ivan, the gray wolf, the firebird, and the Baba Yaga. This is a really great, wholesome, cozy tale about community and the power of courage and the power of believing in yourself. And it sits comfortably on the shelf with other folklore retellings like Snow and Rose. It was just cozy and wonderful, and I could see young Megan really having enjoyed this one. We have Hell House by Richard Matheson. Despite some deeply problematic elements, aka 1970s classic horror, homophobia, and sexism, even if it's symbolism, I find it to be a tired trope. That's just me. This was quite good. I'm really glad that I read it because I really like seeing where the genre started. This had some grossly horrific scenes that I feel like will stick with me. It's a very classic, nostalgic, approachable story, a psychological thriller set in a haunted house wherein you question whether or not things are actually happening to these characters or if they are self-inflicted. I did like this. I really did enjoy this. I'm surprised it's not made into a movie because I feel like some of the scenes directors could have a lot of fun with. Next up, we have Rouge by Mona Awad. This was a greatly anticipated read for me. I was really excited to read this one because I liked Bunny, but I felt like I would like this one even more. And I don't know if I can say that I do because they're very different, I find. They have classic elements that we know from Awad. We've got exceptional writing and just twisted, turny, abstract plot. But the themes are very different and the characters are very different. I think I cared about the characters more in Bunny than this one, but I liked the themes in this one more. This is delightful, it's insidious, it's a propulsive gothic tale. It took a while to get into for me, but the ending just landed so hard and hit me so emotionally that it really knocked this up a few notches for me in terms of my enjoyment. My biggest gripe is the pacing, but also the fact that there wasn't enough body horror for my liking. I think I would have wanted the horror elements to be turned up ever so slightly more. However, with its exceptional writing and themes, and again, that ending that just landed so hard and got me right in the feels, this was a really good one. Next up, we have Slade House by David Mitchell. This was a confusing yet quickly paced eerie tale featuring creepy twins and a house of horrors. Overall, it was fine. I liked the writing. I liked Mitchell's ability to just throw you into the minds of characters, get you feeling for them, and get the party started. That's really what it feels like. He's just kind of getting the party started. You're there, he picks you up, he takes you along. However, I feel like overall this was just a meh for me. I didn't necessarily love it. I didn't hate it. I thought it was fine. If you like creepy twins, this would be the one for you. Next up, we have Immortality, a Love Story by Dana Schwartz. This is a sequel to one of the books that I love so dearly, Anatomy by Dana Schwartz. I really had high expectations for this one, and unfortunately they were not met. As I stated previously, I would have loved there to be more exploration on the theme of immortality and love and what it means to love someone forever and what it means to give up forever to love someone. However, this kind of just meandered and then eventually fizzled out for me. I like Hazel. I like the main character Hazel. I enjoyed following her in the beginning, but I didn't want to follow her for that long. I wanted the plot to pick up way sooner. So the ending was nice and sweet and I did enjoy that, but when I got to the ending, I was a little bit more frustrated because the parts of the ending that were really, really good could have lasted way longer in this book, but we spent time in places that I didn't understand why. We spent time with characters that I didn't really care about. And overall, it was just kind of a frustrating conclusion. Oh, I hate that. I hate that because I would still totally recommend the first book, but the second book, just go in with a little bit lower expectations and you'll be good. The second last book I'm going to talk about is Home Before Dark by Riley Sager. This was the first Riley Sager that I finished. I've actually attempted to listen to this on audio. It is so much better to read it because I was super confused at the beginning with the audio and I just wasn't feeling it. So I'm glad that I read it. I get the thrill behind the twists and turns. I get why people like to read him. But frankly, with the twists and turns, I wish that they connected more and I wish that they had made more sense. Overall, I could predict a lot of what was about to happen, and when it happened, I was kind of like, okay. It was exciting, and as you can see by my reactions, I understand the kind of endorphin rush that you get from like a revelation and a twist, and then another twist. So it was a really fun ride, and I feel like if you go in with expectations of kind of cheap thrills, but easy writing and easy to follow characters, then this is definitely a fun ride. And I did enjoy my time in this story.
And last but certainly not least, we have The Dead Take the A Train by Cassandra Khaw and Richard Kadri. This was such a romp. A gritty urban horror fantasy featuring a very flawed but likable cast of characters that moves at an incredible pace. There's this undercurrent of a love story that seeps throughout that is so sweet and so fun to be a part of. Definitely a lot of body horror in this one, which I deeply enjoyed. I loved the writing in those moments. It was gruesome, it was gritty, it was so much fun. Really enjoyed it, really enjoyed it. This is the first book in a duology, so I'm definitely going to be picking up the second one just because it was such a fun ride and great. Really liked it. Okay, so there we have it. I'm not even going to attempt to pick them all up. Actually, I will once I put down my mic, but there you go. These are all of the books that I read. Oh my gosh, I can't believe it. I can't believe I got through. I can't believe my brain isn't as melted as it could be, and I had a really great time, so thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed your time here. I didn't think that I would be able to concentrate for as long as I did because, hello, the internet is melting all of our brains, but I did, and that was great, and I'm so proud of myself. So thank you so much for being here. I hope you had a good time, and I will see you in the next video.